Meili Tao, your Donut Princess, and you're listening to Short and Sweet, a Donut Princess podcast. I bring on really influential people who are doing amazing things in their community, and the reason why I bring them on is because I feel like you have something to learn from them. So they have valuable information, and I would love to share that with you and highlight them. So today I have the man, the myth, the legend, Chad Phuong, aka Battambang Bob. He is such an amazing businessman, family man, community man. I mean, there is such a long list of amazing things I can say about this person, but we actually met because we recently did a pop-up at 10 Mile Brewing, which was incredible.
Yes.
Boo, he brought over a nice red carpet, he had a country band, he brought an MC, he really wanted to throw a party, and I went to go try his barbecue, and it was like an instant synergy. Like, we were on the same path of like, oh, let's bring the community together. Oh yeah, let's bring food. Let's bring donuts. Let's bring your book. So I really appreciate you for that. And I noticed that, it's not just me that he chooses to highlight and bring up with him with his recent fame, with his pop-up. But it's a lot of the younger generation, and it's really refreshing to talk to someone from, I would say, the older generation. Not to date you as like old man, but you're just from a different generation than we are, but you are always trying to create this new version of community, this new idea of culture, and I'm here for it. Like, it's super cool to have like an OG who's like, yeah, like, young people, let's get together and let's like promote our culture. Usually it's the opposite effect. We have our parents and our families who have been through a lot of trauma, especially with the Khmer Rouge and the genocide, and the fact that, there's this new refresh, this renaissance, as some people say, to bring people together. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so honored to have you here today. So for people who don't know you, we know you as the Cambodian Cowboy, but I want to dive in a little bit deeper. Give us like a really quick run through of your childhood. So were you involved in the Khmer Rouge? Like, were you there at that time that it was happening?
Yes, I was a young boy.
How old were you?
I was about 5 or 6
Okay.
when I recollect. I remember a lot of atrocity and trauma that came with, and before they took over also.
Yeah.
So those things, like they said, when it's very traumatic, when you're a little boy, like, we all studied psychology in school somewhat, maybe high school to college. So those things take effect when you're older, like they say. So I recollect a lot of vivid traumatic stuff that happened during those times.
Yeah.
And some of the things that were bad, I remember the good things that happened, like being with my grandparents, with my siblings, of being out in the countryside. So they were dramatic, but like we tend to oppress those memories, but we remember the good stuff. So that's what I've done. And I was there, in my childhood. I was there during the regime.
Mm-hmm.
I was there when the Vietnamese overthrew the government, and then when they rolled in with their tanks through our village, and then we had to do the long walk for safety to the Thai border. And that's when I saw a lot of traumatic stuff that happened to people, like, first person. So it's very, very still traumatic to me at that time. So that's my childhood. And growing up in the countryside, Battambang is more like a rural province of Cambodia. Like, people ever visit there, you probably visit. There's a lot of still very country, not industrialized, such as Siem Reap or Phnom Penh. But that's all I remember, just being a farmer's grandson, because my grandfather's a farmer. So a lot of good memories, and of course, the atrocities, all the things that happened. It affected so many of us.
Yeah, and like, I actually have a lot of family in Battambang, and they're like, I think they farm like rice, they farm like different crops, and when my dad took me back to Battambang, it was like just miles and miles of like the water farm, miles, and there's something really beautiful about it, like, it's just, I think when we think of Cambodia, you think of like Angkor Wat, you think of Phnom Penh, you think of maybe Kampot, or maybe something like temple-y, jungly, but Battambang is super farm life, and I would love to hear a little bit more about your relationship with your grandparents, because for me, I lived with my grandma in this house for like the first half of my life. And it to be raised by your grandparents, more so to have their influence, is something that I feel like is missing from like my generation. Like when I meet somebody else who they spend a lot of time with their grandparents, they are so cool. Like they have like a very like old soul, and I do feel like that influences them. So tell me about your grandparents and like what your relationship was like with them.
With my grandparents, I was the first, grandkid. So,
Yeah.
of course, you get a little bit extra
Why?
treatment. You're the first.
Yeah.
And then
Why is
first,
that a big deal? And like the first boy in
Yeah.
the family or first girl is like big deal.
Yeah.
Big party.
Yeah, because, I think in our culture, so they look forward, to their children having kids. So when it's the first, everybody is, they celebrate, they want to groom and raise you. And that's how life is as Cambodians. Back then, small village, everybody knows everybody. Everything's
Yeah.
very family oriented. Even though you live in a small or big village, everybody helps each other, knows each other. So my relationship, mostly that has a lot of significance till now. Like what inspired me each and every day is my grandfather.
Yeah.
He's the only man that taught me, like in that small short period time frame, how to fish, how to hunt, how to gather, how to take care of the water buffalo, how to take care of the ox cart. When we go every morning to the rice paddy. And second is my grandmother. My grandmother has a huge influence. She would ask me to do tasks, such as she would give her a machete. She'd like, go get some firewood, go to the jungle. So that's how, being the first guy, I didn't have any siblings around or anyone around. So I would go out there in the jungle, gather whatever firewood I could get. I would come back, and then she'd give me another task, like, hey, go pick up some watercress along the riverbank, and I would go help your grandfather's, descale some fish. So she would give me a lot of tasks, and I didn't look at these things as tasks when I was a little kid. I wanted to do so much more. Like I wanted to really learn. So I think that's where I could never keep still till now. I'm always wanting to do something or get better at something. It's never a task, a job. So they have such a huge influence as I got older, from
For sure.
5, 6 year old to now being 50 years old. So they inspire me still to this day.
I think that grandparents have a lot of like amazing stories, amazing knowledge, and I think that the grandparents, we forget to acknowledge them in the process of us growing to be the people we are. And even though they gave you all those tasks, you didn't complain. You're like, okay, like, let me go cut the watercress. Let me go hunt the fish, which is such a different childhood than our generation, right? Like, if you asked me to scale a fish, I probably could do it. Or, like, go spear a fish, like, I probably couldn't do it. But what's really cool is, like, when I think about you and, like, my mom, for example, you guys grew up, like, with the jungle, like, in your backyard, or living in the jungle. So it's just such a different experience on the skills that you have and, like, the attitude you have about it. There's no fear, right, when you want to go and hunt a fish. Like, could you tell me about your first experience catching your first fish?
Oh man, it still lives vividly. So I live in a small little village called Don Teo, and when they tell about a village, it's always some landmark that Cambodians go by. Like could be a rock, a tree, or that's how we describe things. We don't have like streets, avenue, boulevard. We live in the country, right?
Right.
So in front of my grandmother's house, there's like a coconut tree, so it bends forward towards it's at a 90-degree angle. So I would jump off there during the monsoon season when the water rises. It would go like almost up to the second floor, because that's how it is. We live along the riverbanks.
Yeah.
So my first experience, I learned how to swim at a very young age. So I would dive all the way down to the bottom of the river. I would put a net to catch any fish I can. So my first experience, so I left the net there, because my grandfather, he gave me some little net he wasn't using, and then I went down there. Like I caught my first catfish, and so what I did, I brought it back out, I gutted it, and then I saw my grandmother ask, "Hey, Grandma, can I have a bamboo skewer?" Because that's the only thing we used to grill. So I asked, like, you're like, well, just be careful, don't burn down the house. So I descaled. I put the fish on the bamboo skirts. Then I rotated it, and then that was my first fishing experience that I did by myself without my grandfather's help. So
Was he proud of you?
he was like, okay. I mean, like, okay, you caught a fish.
Yeah, he's like, big deal.
It's like he caught like millions and thousands of fish,
Yeah.
It's like, okay, good job.
Like, okay, cool.
Like he said, just eat it. Be careful of the bones.
Yeah.
Just don't eat it too fast.
Yeah.
Because fish over there, they have a lot of bones. Freshwater fish.
Yeah, I remember eating some like the way like Cambodians prepped where they grill it with like the side veggies and the sauce.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good, but there's so many bones.
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah.
so many
you
bones.
gotta be careful of those bones.
And would you say that your grandparents have influenced you to this day with your concept Batambang Bob?
Yeah, because I'm from the country and when I just finished high school, when I used to be a donut baker, when I was done with that, I moved to Texas. And when I went to Texas, it really brought me back home because it was easy living, really friendly people, and I listened to a lot of country songs before I even got to Texas, but I even listened to more like 50s, 60s, 70s country song, Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, Randy Travis, and all those guys. And their song had a lot of message about family, about community, about who they are, what they wanted to do, a lot of soul searching. So I really connected with those things because those things, reconnected me with my grandparents, how they were brought up, like him being a farmer, my grandmother always taking care of the house, and me always being inquisitive, trying to, find things to do and stuff. So they have a huge impact till this day.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of viewers too, when they listen to my podcast, what I really like to stress to people is that you can always reinvent yourself. Absolutely. No matter if you are in school right now and you think you want to be this thing and then you turn around and do something else, or maybe you were something for 10 years and now it's your chance to like really find your passion. Could you name off the different careers that you've taken up until doing your own pop-up and as like a Batambang Bob? Like just name them off for people to know that it's okay to be able to reinvent yourself.
Oh yeah.
So you first was a baker.
Yeah, I was at first I was so a lot of Cambodian Americans in the Long Beach area and LA metro area. When we came here, we didn't have any jobs and stuff. So the only skilled jobs were like at home. So during the 80s, when a lot of refugees resettled here, a lot of people took up sewing because they could sew from home, take care of the kids. So I worked at my mom's sweatshop for over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So I really know like Swansea Alley, LA, all the way to Van Nuys. I know the whole LA basin because of, driving around, delivering clothes, picking them up, taking back to the sweatshop in Signal Hill. So that was my first real job. I mean, I don't get paid for it, just like helping my own family's business. So sewing,
welcome
steaming.
To a lot of the immigrant kids who came here because we all worked for free for a while.
Yeah, so we didn't complain. There was no, slavery, whatever. We just like it's just a family business. We just accepted it and did it,
Yeah.
But yeah, so doing everything from driving, delivering the clothes to press steaming it, to sewing it, overlocking it, to making the pads. I mean, I know the whole sewing industry in the back of my head, and I don't want to go back yet. Maybe when I brand my stuff, I want to go back,
right?
And go back because I understand the industry since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
So that was my first job. And then after high school, I went to become a baker. I learned from my friend at Donut Star up in Anaheim Hills. I met some Cambodian guy because I was like, talking to his sister, and then like, hey, my brother, he could teach you how to bake donut. Like, all right, I'll just go over there and learn a few months, see what he can teach me. So I learned from for like at least a month, and then I made a couple calls in Orange County, like, hey, are you guys looking for a baker? A couple people, no, we're not looking. And then I finally found Rainbow Donut in Anaheim Hills, and like, yeah, we need a baker, come and interview. Let me see, I'll be with you for one night to see if you can can bake these donuts.
Yeah.
So it's like my first real job as a donut baker. So I'm
Yeah.
like sweating bullets,
You're like,
the yeast,
Yeah.
all the different ratio.
hoping that the yeast will raise the way you want it.
Or-
Hoping you flip it and it's not burned.
Yeah, or the proof box, make sure that it's a real like proof box that's working correctly.
Yeah.
It's not over,
Overrides.
humidified where the oil can gets in the donut. So after that, I became a baker, and then I did do that for a few years. I went to go help my mom back her sweatshop.
It's hard work, huh, being a baker.
Oh yeah, all by yourself late at night, and it's all. And then some nights are like easy, like the first like 3-4 days, like 10, 15 pounds. And then it'll be, 10, 15 quarts, and then the next day be like 20, 30. And you're like, oh, I gotta come in at 8 p.m. instead of like midnight.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It takes a lot of time to be a baker, and all the heavy lifting,
Yeah.
the timing, cutting, rolling, like it's very physical.
Yeah.
So after you were a baker, then you went back to help your mom.
Yeah, help my mom, and then I left to Texas with a couple of my siblings with my stepdad because they had a contract in a little town called Hereford. It's about 60 miles outside of Amarillo. So I was there for a few months. I was like bored out of my mind because I like to be busy,
Right.
and there wasn't really any good paying job because I think minimum pay in Texas was one of the lowest in the country. Like here in California, but it's like I think like $5.50 or $5.75, but in Texas it's like $4.25.
Oh,
So what am I gonna
man.
do? Like making $4 an hour? Like there's not really much I
Right.
could buy. So I went to this help place. They look for jobs in Hereford. So like, hey, there's a slaughterhouse. It's called Excel. They're looking to hire people. Like, oh, slaughterhouse, wow. Like, well, they pay like $17 an hour. So like, ding
Ding,
ding.
ding, ding.
Like, hey, that's some good money
All right,
right
let's
there.
do it.
Yeah, so I went to the orientation, and I got the job. It's like everybody gets the job. I'm like, oh man, I
At the
thought I
end.
was special. So I got what it takes, but it's like it's like they have a huge turnover because it's one of the hardest working
It
jobs.
is. Wait, tell me about it, what that was like. Like, what were you like slaughtering and killing?
Oh, so it's Excel is owned by Cargill. They're one of the biggest beef manufacturing plant in the whole nation. So it's actually a full-on slaughterhouse with 2 shifts. So each shift we kill about 2,000 cows a shift.
Okay.
So work at the gut table. I would have to take out the intestine, the different stomach, such as there's different stomachs. So there's the honeycomb, there's the rough stomach, and there's the tripe, and then the intestines and stuff. So then I would work at the oxtail. Like the oxtail would come on a conveyor belt. I would have to do quality control, like check it for hair or any cysts, or remove it or toss it as rendering because it's not a good product for the market. I work at the ground beef section. I work at the frozen section, so just take out a lot of the brisket, the tri-tip, and all that, trimming the fat, getting ready for market, trimming it. So I knew a lot of the whole operation of the beef.
So wait,
industry.
psychologically, did you feel some type of way about it, or because when you were younger, you were like already out in the wild doing stuff like? Were you unfazed by it? Were you kind of like, oh, just like what were your feelings about it, or you had no feelings about it?
Oh, I had no feelings because like we talked about
Yeah.
earlier, when you go through a lot of PTSD and hardship in Cambodia, you're a refugee. We see a lot of stuff. So I think being that, like, I really don't get fazed a lot about a lot of things I see or prepare myself, such as during the late 80s, early 90s, like gang violence stuff. It didn't really faze me. Like being close to people doing drive-bys, like I know how to react, how to get down, how to look, see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think the resilience of going through all those traumatic stuff as refugees from a war-torn country, it makes you appreciate stuff, but also prepare you a lot of the hardship that most people think is hard, but really it's really nothing to a former refugee or immigrant that went through all those hardship to get to where they are now today.
Right. Yeah. Like quite literally, like you've seen some shit. Like
Yeah.
like when I look at my mom too, and she's so unfazed by a lot of things because the mindset is like survival. The mindset is like, well, I'm hungry, I gotta eat this thing, so I'm gonna do this thing. And it's just this resilience that you talk about that is so like not really present in our generation, where I feel like we're very soft and weak in comparison to the older generation. Like there's no fear, like, and you guys have seen so much already.
Right.
It really changes the like importance of like the feeling of certain things, because you're like, oh well, it's not like, it's sometimes it can be like a life or death thing, but all of that has kind of prepared you for it. We're gonna take a quick short break, but afterwards we're gonna see what you did after the slaughterhouse. And it sounds like to me too that everything in your life has led you to this moment of being the Cambodian cowboy. So yes. We'll be right back with the break. Okay, do you need to use the restroom?
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry to get into depth, because I just wanted the viewers to know.
Yeah.
Because I think if I go too fast and they're like, oh, okay. I think it's important because...
No, you're perfect.
The amount of time, like if I was in my 20s, it'd be short, but now I'm like, you said, I'm older.
Yeah.
So I guess, the
there's
normal.
There's so much more.
Yeah. And like you said, the things that happen to us, like, during, like your mom too, there's a reason why she didn't just do, or she didn't make the decision to do what she did, because those decisions is what she learned, and she thought far ahead in advance, like what are the consequences, or what are the, the things that's gonna happen later.
Yeah, it's like a different mindset
of
what you guys have, and like I just think it's amazing. So Dairy Queen.
Yeah, I would help operate my ex-girlfriend. Her uncle ran a couple of Dairy Queens in canyons near Amarillo, and one in Hereford. So he got drunk a little bit. Sometimes you're like, hey, can you guys go help open the Dairy Queen? I'm like, I guess I can go. So that's when I learned how to make like onion rings with buttermilk, the whole operation, making breakfast burrito. Even though I never had no clue of making it, and I sort of like, okay, this goes with this, that. I mean, we had no business of being there. Like he would be in big trouble, letting us like operate like that. But me, being resourceful and stuff, I kind of put everything together, making onion rings, fries, hash brown. Like, oh, there's a deep fryer, or there's a griddle right there, flat iron. So just put the pancakes, So I did that for like 6 or 7 months, helping them out with Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
And I guess my pay was just tasting all those freezes and stuff, all those different ice cream.
And you had never made a breakfast burrito before.
No,
you never know like what an American breakfast burrito was supposed to be like, or pancakes. Like we're used to like our home food, our Cambodian traditional food. So were you ever like looking at like American food and being like, oh man, I need some spice, or you need some like extra flavor?
Yeah.
Or do you know like the American taste is like they like fried, they like a lot of portion, right?
Yeah, a lot of portion. And back then there wasn't a lot of hot sauce on the market. You're talking about this is the mid-90s. They're probably like Tapatio, and America didn't really know sriracha.
I know.
Back yet. So, and then all they knew was what you call
it?
Tabasco. Yeah, that's all the
trash.
A1 sauce.
Yeah.
That's all. But that's what was available in America, from every dining to every steakhouse across America. Whether you go to like a nice steakhouse, that's all they had, or a Denny's, or a IHOP, A1. Tabasco, and maybe you're lucky Tapatio, if you're lucky. Because at least Tapatio has flavor. Yeah, it has some sort of flavor in it. So yeah, just working at Dairy Queen, and then we moved back to Long Beach, and that's when I helped my mom again with her garment shop, because she persuaded. I felt bad for her.
It's
really all the kids left.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like just to add on that, of like when you're working and exploring what your career is, but when you look at your mom and like you see how hard they're working, like you just want to help them. Like that's exactly how I felt when I graduated college, and my mom, I came back, I decided I didn't want to be a news reporter. She was so disappointed, and she's like, okay, well, you want to help at the donut shop? And I looked at her eyes, like when you look at her eyes, like you're just like, you see how tired they are. You know that you have like the energy to help them and progress it. And so I definitely like resonate with that, because like it's hard to like turn your head and pretend like you don't see them hard working.
And then working on your own achievements, and that's the same thing that happened to me when I came back. I wanted to do, go into the med field, so I had to put that on hold to help it because, days in donut shop on the weekends, like you can't really go enjoy yourself.
Right.
The baker didn't come in,
Yeah.
like he only did this much, so you feel bad. Seeing your mom, then you come, okay, mom, I'll wake up early to help you. So same thing happened to me. Like the driver, he was sick or he quit, so I had to come and do put the clothes together, take it to downtown LA, and I had to put a lot of my own endeavors on hold. And I did go to a little bit of a surgical school, but I stopped. I went into IT. So after that, I worked for a plant called Tung. They're a Taiwanese company. So what they did, they refurbish computers. So I worked at a computer plant. So that's when I knew how to build my own computer from the motherboard to the CPU to getting the operating system to the hard drive. This was computer at its infancy. So we were making a lot of money. For 2 years, I didn't have a job because when I applied for my job after, where's your tax return? Because I built computers from home. I put games on it, like emulators. And back then they had CompUSA. There's this big company. It's like a Chinese company. It's called PC Club. So they have all the parts and stuff, and kids would build it. And that's when the gaming really took off. Like role-playing games such as World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike. There was even cafes dedicated to gaming. And that's when the boba movement, I mean, during the late 90s and early 2000s, that's when all this stuff that you see now, was at its infancy. It was barely starting.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much it's evolved too. Like now you can play with somebody across the world, but on the same game,
on your phone,
skins and avatars. And I think that's really cool that you can also add that you are basically a computer builder entrepreneur at home, like building computers and selling them. That's also a great business to start off with too. So now we're going from baker, garments, slaughterhouse, Dairy Queen, IT, computers. Okay, what's next?
Then after the computer, all these other companies, so they took whatever we did here in the States. So okay, these kids are building their own computer. So along came Gateway, all these other companies. They made they took all the old computer, they rebuild it and they sell it for cheap to the market. So that really took okay, why should I buy $1,500 a PC from you when I could get it from Gateway for $500? So that's took a lot of our business out because that's how we made our money. So then I got a contract to work for Parker Hannifin as an IT person. So that's when I learned Cisco, Microsoft, Windows, and their operating system. And then I worked there for a year and a half. So I felt like I didn't belong there because I felt like I was trapped in a cubicle, just reformatting people's computer, teaching them how to use a printer, connect. I mean, it was kind of I didn't feel
tedious, right?
Yeah, tedious, but I felt like I need to be out there, with my skill set. Even though I was getting paid really well, being 20 years old, making $25 an hour is a lot more than most of my friends back then. They were barely trying to graduate, get a job. Oh well, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll edit it out. Do you want to put it on just the silent or do not disturb? Yeah. Want me to teach you? You're an IT guy, so you just go here and you press this one.
Yeah, not a phone IT. Those are two different operating systems. That's
You're
an OS.
What is this?
That's an OS of Apple. So Apple's been really good because they have an OS you can't really have a lot of virus system versus a Windows.
Right. Oh my god, I would always get viruses on my Windows. As a kid, when we play games, you would always the computer would die.
Trojan horse. Or you use Yahoo Chat. Those were its infancy back in AOL. So I grew up during the infancy, just being at that age, at the right age, in your late teens and young adulthood. So it was really something that I always remember, all the different consoles and stuff. So after IT, I went into a surgical tech school.
So you finally got to go.
You're
finally. Jumping around. Finally, you got to do what you wanted to do.
Almost.
Healthcare. Almost.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. So we're almost done, like with our clinical rotations. Like we went to, I went there, and then doing our clinical rotation, meaning that we have to go to different sites in the operating room, such as Martin Luther King Hospital or downtown LA or Long Beach Memorial Veterans Hospital down in Long Beach. And then the school closed.
What?
They locked their doors because the federal government said, they're bankrupt, they have no money. So this school was like, it was legit for a while. Then all of a sudden they closed their doors, and we had a loan, and like, and we had no one to talk to.
Right,
So,
they didn't have like support, like
yeah, they closed their school.
what do you do in your school?
It's a private school
my
for
gosh.
it's like a trade school.
Yeah.
So then I sat around for like 6-7 months, and then we just stayed connected. The teachers that was there, they really care. Like, okay, like what's the next step? Like, what can we sue them? Is another school gonna take us up? So then American Career College, the one in Anaheim, they call, hey, why don't you kids come over here and graduate over here? We'll make a surgical program for you guys to finish. And that's when I went over there in Anaheim.
Nice.
And I graduated in a couple months. Then my first job was working at Pacific Hills Surgery Center near Laguna Hills. And he's like one of the famous cataract doctors in that area, Dr. Norman Peterson. So this guy was doing like 20-30 cataracts in like 5 hours. So it's like my first gig. They threw me to the fire. I'm like, whoa.
You're like,
he's like the world. He does cataracts in like 2 minutes.
Really?
Well, yeah. So that's when I learned how to pace myself.
Yeah.
I learned how to do things quickly, efficiently, having a clean platform, and that's when my surgical career took off, because my first gig was like he's like the rock star of like cataract surgery out there in Laguna Woods. Where a lot of the elderly retire right there. So that's when I did my stuff in the surgical field.
Well, I mean, look, if you can understand how to handle an oxtail and the intestines, then you're already kind of halfway there with the surgical stuff,
but
right?
This is minute because you're under a microscope. So doing cataracts, I have to be under the microscope, because he's looking under a microscope to remove the cataract from your eye. So I gotta have like a little smaller blade. It's called paracentesis. It's a really small blade, about 0.2 millimeter. Then I have a keratome. It's a much bigger incision where you put the phaco machine. They use ultrasound to bombard and break up the cataract in the eye. Mostly people who have cataract. Then I would have to load up this artificial lens, like so small, and there's different lenses. I mean, before there was only a few brands such as Bosch and Lomb, there was Alcon and stuff, but now I don't know, there's so many lenses I haven't, I'm not in that field no more, but that's what I used to do, load up the lens. He would inject it, rotate it, and clean the eye out. Then in a couple of days, the wound would heal, and then the patient could see again.
Wow. So. Oh my gosh. So like you're like handing him certain like tools that he needed, you're prepping the area.
Oh, yeah.
But you had to do it quickly, because it's 5 hours for 30 clients. That's a lot. That's like really fast surgery.
Yeah, he's like one of the fastest cataract surgeon in that area.
Yes.
So each case took less than like 10 minutes. And you're right, I have to have like the keratome, the paracentesis blade. I have to have the lens injector, the phaco machine, and we have to go to the irrigation where we clean out the back of the eye. And in case like he has a ruptured capsule, meaning that there's actually a capsule that protects you from your anterior chamber of your eye to your eye. So if you rupture that, all the viscous will come out. That's where you get that pressure.
Yeah.
So you have to be super careful not to put too much pressure on it. And if I did, we had to use a different kind of lens. We had to use sutures, and the suture's really small. You have to put on a needle holder, and I have to help them suture. So these things really make me a better surgical assistant going forward in different fields. But like everything that was put in front of me, I wanted to get better and better. I wanted to be the best, not with anybody else, because there's nobody else in the OR. I'm helping a surgeon, so it's for me to be better and better. And I got so good that a whole group of Kaiser doctors in Orange County, they all know me. These guys are the ophthalmology people in Orange County, and they're like, hey Chad, can you come work over here? Name your price So that's when I knew my value, my worth, like as employee, but also someone in the field, someone's helping a part of the team. Like, and then I get to call my own rate. So I was making at least like a 6-figure, like more than nurses and stuff, being a surgical tech.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that all came from you not really competing with anyone, but basically bettering yourself, bettering your system. How can you get better with your skills each time? I think for you, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise working with one of the most, fastest, most popular doctors. And that's where you kind of like learned your skill and you picked it up. Would you say that like during the process, were there certain times where you were frustrated and like think, oh, this isn't for me? Did that ever cross your mind, or were you like full steam ahead? Like, I'm done being a baker. I'm done being a slaughteraman. Like, I want to continue. Like, did you experience like any of that like inner dialogue when you were entering this new field?
Yeah, because during surgery there are cases that go 4 or 5 hours. There were like most industry, most field, you get like good bakers, bad bakers, right?
Yeah.
And then same thing in medicine. I hate to burst people bubble, but I think people aren't naive anymore. There's good surgeons, there's bad surgeons. They have different theories, the way they were trained, the way they were taught, and who their assistant is. And my thing was, every day that I walk in, when I put my scrub, it's I'm only good as my last case. It could, and I look at it could be someone's wife, someone's mom, someone's dad, and that was my approach, to always be a good assistant to my surgeon, whether it be ophthalmology, ortho, or GYN. Someone having a ectopic pregnancy, I had to help the doctor with suturing or stopping the bleeders. So that really made me always prepare myself, never negative stuff, because it's someone's life on the line, and you can't approach things like that differently like other industry, because one little nick, like one little wrong medication, like it could go south, the patient could code, we could lose a patient, or we could make a nick on the artery, we have to open up. So that didn't happen to me, being that I was blessed to have good surgeon, but I always had backup, like you said. I always had a clean platform. When I did things, I knew where my medication is. If something was moving, or someone touched them, it was contaminated, I would see, like, no, I can't use them, sorry, get me some new gloves, it's contaminated. So it made me really aware of the integral things that I did each and every day when I walked after the red line into the surgical room.
So then you started working for Kaiser, and then I can't wait to hear like what's next. What's the next thing that you take on?
Oh, when I was working, so I didn't work like directly with Kaiser. They had a contract at an outpatient surgery. So then one of my nurses, she got another job at a fertility place down the street. So it's like less than like half a mile from where I was working in ophthalmology. So they do like GYN, like fertility treatment for people that are trying to conceive and stuff, using science and stuff. So I worked for this one doctor, and then it's a new facility. I help set it up. I help get the trays. I help in the OR. I help in the PACU. Just helping my nurses. So I learned a lot of different operation of a surgical center.
Right.
So I learned that, and then I was able, hey, I need to get compensated for this much. You can take care of me. I'll come help you. This is what I bring to the table. This is what I'll do. Take good care of the surgeon. Get everything ready. Don't have to worry about me. And then get them on their way into the clinical after they're done with their cases at the outpatient surgery center. So working for the fertility, it was a different department than other departments, such as ophthalmology, ortho, the pain room, or ENT. So then another doctor, he was moving. His name is Dr. Larry Worley. He's very famous. He's friends with the Rolling Stones. He's a pretty awesome guy. He's one of I look up to this man because he's like a father to me. I look up to him, the things he do, his work ethic. So Dr. Lawrence Worland, he opened a new surgery center called Reproductive Surgery Center. He said, hey, Chad, can you come and help us out, build this whole place with the nurse. So that's when I, from getting the equipment, from building the operating room, the anesthesia machine, all the equipment, to build this whole center.
From scratch?
From scratch. So while I was doing that, I was helping, in Long Beach, I was helping an ophthalmology group open their own eye room, such as getting all the instrumentation, the medication, all the supplies, teaching the nurses what drops to put in the eye to dilate. I mean, I was like, man, I was like living it because I like helping so many people. I felt really, really proud of myself that I was being compensated also, but to help that part of the business to get people treatment and to help the surgeons. But like everything else, it boils down to business. So I helped Dr. Worland, and while I was doing all that, to answer your question, I did catering, I did pop-ups and stuff, was helping nonprofit raise money because I couldn't let go of helping people cook, making plates, and offering my service outside of when I got off from my 9 to 5 or on weekends. Like, hey, I could do that. I could make these sliders. I could make salamat curry for your wedding. Because friends would ask, like, hey, can you cater my wedding and stuff? And I cater a few weddings in San Diego locally, and I made all these dishes by learning from the elders, such as my mom, my aunt, or older people that needed help. Because Cambodian Bon or festival is a whole, everything's from scratch.
Yes.
From cutting the lemongrass to blending it to mixing it, marinating. So I mean, nothing is store bought. So,
Right.
So that's when I learned, and I moonlighted as a chef during those off hours.
Okay, so you're doing a lot at this time. And so what year are we up to now? Is this 20, have we hit the pandemic yet?
No, this is way before. This is like 2009 or 2010 when this happened, and that's when I had my daughter, with my ex. So that really changed me being a dad. So being a dad, it really brought me down to earth. I wasn't rocking and rolling, trying to chase my own goals. I wanted to be like a good dad because I never had a dad. Going back, because during the Khmer Rouge, Pol Pot era, they murdered my dad. Like most people, they would give them a memoir, like, okay, what did you do? What's your skill set? And then when they read it, they take you off and kill you. So that's.
What was your dad?
My dad was a military police officer in our village, in Khmer it's called PM. So MP. So it's a French acronym for military police. And they said he hid guns in the attic, which he didn't. And then he took off to the jungle because they would hear like, oh, they're gonna come look for you guys, the ones that are part of the old regime.
Right.
So he ran to the jungle like twice, and then he came back like, oh, they're not looking for you. So the third time he got tired of running. So they wanted to kill all of us, but he sacrificed himself, like, just take me, don't leave my wife and my children alone. Like, and that's when I remember vividly, like, sitting at the stairs, because my mom is gone, no one's at the house. My little brother, he's like still sleeping, my little sister crying, and my mom rode into the Jeep to try to save my dad. Because she knew one of the officers that with the Khmer Kahom, the ones that trying to help, but they're playing along with it, and it was too late. So when she came back in the Jeep, I could see her breaking down and stuff, and she had a mental breakdown for like 2 years. Like, she really lost.
I mean, it's so traumatic, and it's just atrocious, like what the Khmer Rouge did to a third of the population in Cambodia. And I'm just glad that you're here to tell the story today, because they could have taken all of you guys. Like, they're ruthless. And it's crazy that, I'm so sad that your family went through that. So just to recap that, like, because you didn't have your dad, now that you had your daughter, you're like, all right, like, I'm gonna be the best dad ever, right?
Yeah, even though my relationship was rocky, we weren't together no more, and like most people, but I didn't want not to be a good dad to my little girl. So my daughter was everything to me, to be a better man, a better person, a better father. So that's when I made steps to better myself in everything that I did. So that was the turning point in my life, is just having someone that you need to take care of, and not having guidance too. So you sort of like, you mentally prepare yourself because you never had a dad to look up to, or to be told like, hey, this is the way you do it. So I had a stepbrother who was too busy with school, and we had a house full of kids. So wasn't just me, but so I had to like, okay, can't go out, can't do that, be a good dad, and just calm down. Everybody has their own turning point.
Yes.
And to me, that was my turning point to really like settle down and not chase my own endeavor, but just be a dad, put my daughter in school, take good care of her, do things with her.
How old is she now?
She's actually 20 now. So
she's 20 now?
Yeah, she's 20. So she lives with her mom now. So giving her some space. Like she had to go to college during the pandemic. So give her some space. So I know it's not just her. It's a lot of kids out there that are trying to find who they are because they couldn't go to class. They couldn't socially be with other kids or be with their peers. So society has to really take a look at that time span of 2 years, because there's a lot of young teens, young adults, and you have to understand them. They couldn't go out, they couldn't, and social life was everything to them. Their friends, whether they didn't like friends, but it was everything to them. So we really have to really take care of that time frame of the kids that were affected during the pandemic, because it's unprecedented in the history of mankind. Like, because we're in modern time, we could look back during the 1817 during the Spanish flu, but that's a totally different time.
Totally different time.
So going back, I just want to give her space. She helps me during the pop up and stuff. Back then, she helps me prep and stuff, and she's a really good artist, drawing and stuff. She's really an awesome kid. So give her space and
Yeah, and especially at that age, like the kids can use a little bit of space. And just to add on to like the pandemic really affecting a lot of people, like many people were extremely affected, whether it's us as adults or kids, but this human connection was missing. Like, for all of a sudden you can't hug your grandparents, you can't hug people, you can't gather. Like, that's just such a human thing. So to take that away from the students and the adults, it's like pretty sad. Yeah, but let's continue on with your journey. So you had your daughter. What's next?
And my daughter and I met my wife now. So we got married, and they married in Long Beach. I had to go all the way to Modesto, because you always go marry where the bride is. Their city and stuff. That's how it's done. So we got married, settled down, and I was still doing surgery, still doing chef pop-ups and stuff. And then I did crawfish. So a lot of people in the area, even social media, they know me as the Cambodian Cajun crawfish. I made crawfish sauce. I was the first to, because a lot of people don't know that in Louisiana, Mississippi, during the South right there, the swampy area, Louisiana, that there's crawfish, but they don't know that the second area in America that has crawfish is Central California, Northern California, because there's a lot of rice paddy since the 1900s, because the Chinese, they farm there, and then the Japanese, and then if farming, then the Filipinos came and helped, and that's during the 1956. That's when the migrant worker from Mexico came, because the Asian, they couldn't own the land.
Right.
There's a lot of racism.
Exclusion acts.
We had a lot of racism, and we kept quiet. Like most Asian, you learn in history, you kept on working. You didn't let nothing stop your progression, where you're Chinese, Japanese, Korean. I had a teacher. He was in encampment in San Bernardino. He was my PE teacher. He was Japanese. So you learn a lot about history when you grow up here in America, how we were being treated till now, with a lot of the Asian hate and stuff. It's hard not to turn away. And I think the younger generation, with a question that you asked me, I think they're doing a good job by having different social media handle to bring awareness what's happening in our Asian American community, whether it be in the Bay Area, whether it be New York City, or out here in the San Gabriel Valley, or even Long Beach and stuff. And I think we mainstream media need to do more, and to do more, like you said. I know you wanted to be a reporter, that an Asian American reporter need to hop onto that story and highlight that we're not going to take this. If it is bad for one race of people, it's bad for everything. Not just it's just white America or African American. It goes for all race. We want to be treated equal, not better, not different, but just as equal. And I think we're not there yet as Asian Americans, especially Cambodian American or Cambodian American Chinese Americans, where
Yeah.
we have long ways to go to our other Asian counterparts.
Definitely. I agree with that, and especially with like the Black Lives Matter movement, it's a way of also kind of re-educating ourselves on our own histories, and also allyship. Like looking to others is not like you versus me. It's like we're all in this together. That's someone's grandpa, that's someone's dad, that's someone's mom that got murdered, or the business owner that got something taken from them. I mean, I see stuff, I follow a lot of those accounts, and it's very shocking that it's still happening. But if you think about it, it's been happening for centuries. It's just now we're slowly finding each other, finding our voice, and finding these sources to highlight what's happening in the community and provide that support. And yeah, I agree with you. It's like, it's just pretty crazy that our history involves a lot of racism, of like us being marginalized and not really given the, equal opportunity. But I think as times go on, Asian Americans are finding our leaders, we are finding our values, and really like finding each other, which is what the difference is going to be.
Yeah, and I think that's going back to what you were asking about the younger generation, Cambodia. I'm so proud of you and others out there that are making a mark, whether it be in different industry, doing podcasts, or the donut industry. There's room for everybody. I'm so proud of all these people that are highlighting, like Khmer Renaissance, or Hella Chili that started everything, or Jay Chan, one of the hardest working artists here as Cambodian Americans. He's a close friend of mine. I know I went to his house, but just other people, whether they're in apparel and stuff. I'm so proud of them, and sometimes we with Long Beach, I know is the mecca of everything that happens for Cambodian American, but other cities have made great strides. We need to acknowledge that. Whether you're in Lowell, they already have a Cambodian mayor, a council person, someone in a House of Representatives. So I'm super proud of those cities and other cities across the nation. We should be proud of each other because we're making great strides. We have a long way to go, but we need to applaud and be thankful and share each other's idea and connect. Where because the world's a much smaller place, we could fly here, meet up to a conference, or like you could fly here and talk and inspire other people for your experience. It could be one person, like for me, it's just like my grandparents, but I meet a lot of people and they inspire me. Like you inspire me to even though I'm older, I want to get tell my story in a way where it affects people, it inspires people. It's just like what you're doing.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, and I think that storytelling is one of the main things that people cannot take away from you. And because, like, for example, all of us, we grew up with a different upbringing, right? Whether you're basically like a jungle boy from in Cambodia. For me, like having my parents work all the time and having to assimilate to like American culture, each of us offers a story, but I want to envision a world where we're the ones telling it. I don't want a white person to tell our story. Correct. I want a brown or light tan person who's gone through that, because it's way more powerful. The representation is way more powerful when it's us telling those stories. So I hope you don't stop telling your stories, because they're amazing and incredible. I feel like I could sit here and talk to you about your whole history. Like, and just incredible how much you remember too from all of it. Because I know a lot of the older generation, they don't really remember a lot. Like, oh, it's a long time ago, I forgot. But you're very sharp. Like, you still remember the small details of everything, which is incredible. We're going to take a short break, but afterwards we're going to get into the Cambodian Cowboy. And literally we're going to talk about his operations. We're going to talk about, if you ever had a dream to start a food truck, what advice that he would give to you, and you just dive more into your story. So we'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good because we're like doing the suspense, like, hey, tell us how he got
there. Totally.
But they're knowing like all the things that happen from our culture, Asian culture. I think we're doing a good job.
People really like when I bring on like Cambodian, like successful Cambodian people like yourself, because they're like, they'll message me like, oh my god, I loved your episode with this person, like, because there's nobody really podcasting about Cambodians and like what they're up to, you know, like there's like plenty of other people to highlight, but us Cambodians, you have to find them and reel them in, you know. Do you need to use the restroom or anything?
Oh no, I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah,
You're having fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, you know, like I don't get to tell a lot every time, you know, like it's always here.
Yeah.
They're like short stuff, but
yeah, you know, like similar, like when I was at the shop, like you would see somebody and you want to tell them a story, but you don't have time.
Yeah,
like
no.
you like have to like, all right, go here, go bye.
People just came in. Oh, there's nobody here. Okay, like, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
But here in Chicago,
Yeah.
pay $4.50.
Yeah.
Like we'll chat next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Have a good day.
But yeah, just being able to sit down and like for you, just like this is your time to tell your story, and this isn't going to be the last time you tell your story, but at least we have a recounted up to here. But
Yeah.
all right, let's continue. All right, we are back from the break, and the suspense is truly killing me of how this Cambodian Cowboy came into fruition. So take us to, you know, your first pop-up and what you had to do to prepare to that first pop-up. Like, describe it to me vividly.
I did you know, my first pop-up was man, I can't even remember so many pop-ups that I've done. And it's just,
Do you have like a year? Was it 2021, 2020?
oh yeah, my first pop-up was at the Cambodian New Year at El Dorado. So
Oh.
I got my friends together, persuaded them, like, hey guys, you can make a lot of money making like psycho chikat and stuff versus like 10 other people making the same thing. So that's where a lot of my learning experience was like around 2010, 2011 when I had a booth. It's called Lily Pads Catering. So Lily is like, you know, my wife's name, Chan Lily. So I named it after that and got all my friends together.
Cute.
We spent like weeks and weeks making beef sticks. Like it's one of the worst,
How
tedious
many?
job I would.
How many beef sticks did
Oh,
you
we
make?
made like 4,000 sticks.
Oh my
It took us
gosh.
like 2 weeks. Every evening we would get off work and we all, you know, making the skewers, you know, blacking with the lemongrass grung and hoisin sauce, little sugar and stuff. Man, so that was our first pop up.
As Batumbang Bob.
Oh no, not Batabang. It was
Okay.
Lily Pad King. That's
yeah.
You asked about the first pop up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we sold out of the beef stick. And
4,000 of them?
yeah, and then we sold out of our cateo. So I made this huge.
Like
I don't know
how
how many
big?
quart. I think it's like, man, 200 quart is, you know, the biggest aluminum pot. You remember those pot at the bun? Yeah. They're
Yes.
huge. A
Giant.
kid can swim in there.
Yeah.
So we sold out
Drop
of
a
that.
Cambodian kid in there.
Yeah, so that's when I started dabbling in that, and then my wife, she's from Modesto, Central Valley. I told you about crawfish, about the rice paddy and all
Yeah.
that. So you got a little intro, a little history of that. So I went to catch crawfish there, and then I came back. Then my friend, you know, she's like, "Hey, you want to come over eat some crawfish boil?" I'm like, okay. Like, man, it's hard to, you know, like, you know, break into these things. Like, I don't want to eat it. I'll just drink a beer.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I can make the sauce better.
Yeah.
Because I'm always thinking things to make
You taste
things
it, you're
better.
like,
And
not
that's
there yet.
yeah. So that's when it all started. Because that's when Boiling Crab barely made like a little bit. That's when Westminster and stuff, they started making it a little bit, but it wasn't well known. And word got around like, hey, this stuff is good. There's garlics, there's paprika in there. So I knew like, oh, okay, well, I have a thing when I taste anything, I could really, my palate can really break things down like what it is. So I tasted like, oh, I know what's in here. There's garlic. I could taste the cumin in there. I could taste the butter in there. I could taste little like Parmesan cheese in there. So that's when I made my own sauce. And then after that, I ordered a crawfish from the Louisiana Crawfish Company by the pound. So my friend's like, hey, why don't you sell it? Like, okay, I'll just boil in a mason jar and sell it. So that's when I met a few of my friends now, Davin and Danae. They own a Cambodian store. So I was able to stock my crawfish sauce there and just sold out. Like, hey, Bong, your crawfish sauce, there's nothing left there, want more. So in like 2 days I had to restock like another like 12 dozen, you know.
Yeah.
And it just sold from there. Then I did crawfish delivery from home.
Okay.
And then I just dropped it off. So I was like the first crawfish delivery in Long Beach.
Wow.
Like, and I had to buy a domain called Long Beach Crawfish. People log on, but it wasn't really a merchant store. It's just more like a bio.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, you know, the URL back then was just in its infancy,
so
the plug and
outdated.
play. Yeah, it was like, and then after that, that's when we're gonna go fast forward. I did that pop ups and stuff. So fast forward. So in my surgical job, so Dr. Warland, he sold his practice to a foreign company, a Chinese company, his fertility center, because a lot of people in China for so many decades they couldn't have kids, they were limited to one, so they need a lot of fertility treatment, environmentally, physically, and psychologically. Those factors play a huge role in conceiving, so they needed a facility, so they bought our facility, and in a year it was going fine. They really liked what I do. Then the pandemic hit. There wasn't a lot of elective cases, meaning that there wasn't like emergency, like people needed things done, but they could wait because of the pandemic. They would get the virus, so they laid me off, and that's when I saw like what can I do, like I don't have a job. How I'm gonna take care of my children? And then I had my two boys, Logan and Jacob. They were little babies, and I'm like, man, I need to do something. I need to be resourceful. And I think like you know what, I'm just gonna finally give myself a chance to do something that I love, and I'm gonna be almost 50. I'm like 48, 2 years ago. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna give myself a chance to do something different, do something that I love. I'm gonna give it 110%, because before I had my 9 to 5, I was just dabbling.
Yeah.
I was having fun.
And doing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
having fun.
So a lot of people can relate to that. So I'm like, I'm gonna give it 110%. So I got my smoker. I was posting on social media, because during this time I really made a dent in social media, because people knew me how to get the Phuong sauce. I did it for like almost a decade.
You were the king of Phuong sauce,
so
right?
so they know me, like the spicy pork dip, for the mangoes, for the different sour fruit, for the Cajun sauces, the spices, the thing goes on and on. So I had a very successful sauce career, and I was like the pioneer, because people didn't really do it at my scale, where I did my own pop-up, let people taste good. I took the Costco concept. So what I learned, like everything in life, you monkey see, monkey do, but you just want to be better for yourself. So you're not really, yes, you are taking ideas, good ideas, but you have to better yourself at the content that you have and the product that you present to your consumers, to your patrons. So that was my thing, to always have a clean platform to do anything, like a clean slate, just like surgery. Like it's a new case, forget about the old case. This is someone, So that was my approach. So I did my first pop-up at my friend's. I asked them, hey, can I be in front of your noodle shop to sell my barbecues during the pandemic too? I'm like, because I didn't really take advantage of the pandemic. I could have, but I helped my nonprofit, which I sit on board. It's called Sustainability Health Empowerment. So what I did, I helped make masks, because there wasn't no PPE.
Yeah, that was a moment where people needed masks and there was not enough.
Yeah, so I went to being resourceful again. I went to Home Depot. I went to Office Depot. Wait a minute, I could take these Velcro from Home Depot. I could put these little notepad, plastic, the thick ones. So I made a mask, and we got a group together, and Dr. Terry Tan, she's the director of and we made like 10,000. We shipped it to New York. We shipped it to convalescent home. It was just free. We wanted to help out. So that they
needed at that time.
Yeah, so they used my little
contraption,
because I was the first. I'm a surgical tech. I would know everything about aseptic techniques, sterility. Who would know more than a surgical tech?
Right.
I took advantage. I to help. I didn't want it to exploit it, to sell. I know people are like, oh, they were selling it, and I didn't want to be like that, because I wanted to help.
Yeah.
I see that they could use my help, so that was a really successful program. So going back to doing the pop-up, people couldn't really come and get the food, so they would like text me, and I would have their barbecue plate ready, and they would just pick it up in their car. They will pay me through the electronic pay, Venmo, Zelle, and all that. And then word got around little by little. I'm standing in the corner. I'm a one-man team for 2 years. I didn't have help, and it was the reason why I didn't have help because there's not that much people. The pandemic.
Yeah, people were kind of scared to work because they could get sick or bring it to their homes.
Yeah.
So. And then plus people were getting money from the government, so it's like, why would you want to work at that time? It's hard to find workers during the pandemic. We lost a lot of like our workers at that time. Yeah. And that must have been really hard because you're prepping, cooking, taking orders,
smoking,
delivery, all of it.
Yeah, and then having a newborn, so that's when we had a third son, Miles. He's in daycare now, so 2 years. So he was just a newborn when the pandemic hit and they shut down everything. He was at the hospital still, so I was very, very like worried about the virus like everybody else. But I was still out there. I was using protective equipment. Being a surgical tech, I knew to touch not to contaminate myself or to use my visual acuity to look to see if people are coughing or the temperature they're not feeling good. I wanted to be away. So that really, really took off. It wasn't until like almost a year later. So I met this young lady. She works for the Signal Hill Tribune, and she DM'd me, "Hey Chad, I see you guys are doing barbecue and stuff. People know you that you make great barbecue. You mind if I come interview you?" So she came. Christine, her name is Christine. So she came interview me. She did a quick, but then she wrote an article. Like wow, she wrote like a really nice article, but she only interviewed for a good 20 minutes. So people are really good what they do. That's why I really respect people from different industries. They're really good at what they do. Let them do their job. Don't control. You only control what you do. So she wrote a really good article about it. Yeah, sorry about
It's okay.
Yeah. So she wrote an article, and then the article took off because it was in a newspaper. So it's passed every week, and then my friend saw my picture hey, is this you, Mong Chad? Like, what are you talking about? Then he took a picture. Like there I am. Like it didn't really hit me. I'm like, no.
Yeah, like
and even though I had it, I didn't.
Like, oh.
Yeah, I felt kind of strange. You probably felt the same way when during your documentaries, like you watched it, like what happened? Like you don't soak it in until like weeks later or months later. Oh, okay. Now I know what to do with this.
Right.
What I can, tell people this story now that they watch it. So I was a little bit the same way, but in a smaller version, like a paper.
Or you realize that, like, after the article, you were seeing new faces, right? New customers.
Oh.
And you're like, whoa, whoa, something's up.
Yeah, let me tell you, the week after, oh my God, I was by myself still, one-man show.
You weren't ready. You weren't ready.
Yeah, I wasn't ready because, like people know me, wearing boots and stuff. Like, hey, you're the Cambodian, go get the barbecue from the Cambodian Cowboy, because they would ask me where I live, how, what made me do barbecue, when I talk to my customer, and they're like, okay, people call you the Cambodian Cowboy then. Because you had a little bit of a little Texas accent, a little, but not too much like most people. But, and then the week after that, there was oh man, 30 people. The line was past the parking lot. I was like, I called my wife, I think I need help. So I called my little sister. What do you want? What do you want me to do? Can you just take the order while I cut the brisket and stuff? I guess. So super, super hot. I didn't eat anything, and I think that's when I got heat stroke.
Oh no!
Because everywhere I turn, you get that muscle spasm that they talked about because you're dehydrated.
Right.
I was like, oh man, and my friend came you need help, and they came to help, and then at the end okay, he's sold out, so they had to rush me back home, let me get some rest, and let me drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
But I felt like crap. It was one of the worst feeling ever. So if you ever have heat stroke, those are the signs: nausea, muscle spasm, lightheadedness. Everywhere you turn, your muscle would shake. Yeah.
You were just your body was in shock too, because you're
no sleep.
Yeah, you're trying to do a lot. You're trying to push your body, but
and
your
body's
excited. And you're excited too.
Yeah, excited too. So that your adrenaline goes, but it only could you you only could sustain that adrenaline for so long, the human body, for over a period of time. So, but that was the beginning of the Cambodian Cowboy.
Yeah.
And then that's when it built and built, and then more foodies, people like James from Long Beach Food Coma, Ta from where's the food at, and to Brian Addison from the Long Beach food scene, and then then he wrote an article, Brian Addison, and then that's when LA Eater took the article. It just blew up. I only had like maybe 1,400 followers at most. It grew like 5,000, 6,000 in like a couple of weeks, and then that's when they elevated my article, because I don't know, it was on everybody's phone. They were calling me. Even my old coworker, they don't even like do surgery. Like, Chad, is this you? Like, yeah, it's me. But I haven't heard from them for like a decade.
Yeah.
And like, hey, Chad, look, this is you. Like, is this you? Because it was on everybody's iPhone and everything. It was at Eater. It was trending. So I don't know the number, but everybody, even non-Cambodian that's not even related, it's on everybody's iPhone.
Yeah.
So it really shocked me, like, because I know documentary TV is different. It gets shown this time, but when things go viral and trend, like, it's on everybody's phone. That's when people like, hey, I came all the way from Fort Worth to try your stuff. I came from Singapore. I'm like, I was really, really shocked.
You're kind of like in shock that, number one, all these people now around the world know about you, and number two, you're like, all right, like, let me make you some really bomb barbecue, right?
Yeah.
But that's like another thing is like the power of social media. Is like similar to you when I was helping my parents at their shop, and I was pitching my new product, the cronut, the O-nut we call it now, and when Thrillist wrote that article, literally 5 a.m. the next day, like similar, like there's like 30 people outside, like I'm kind of there by like there's just me and the baker, and I'm like, my mom's day off.
That was day one.
Yeah, that was day one.
I saw that.
Yeah.
The line was like around the block.
Seriously, and I call him, oh, Mom, I think I did something, I need help. And, like, that's like kind of like the thing is like when the news breaks for like a food concept and you're not ready for it at all, but now everybody wants to come and
everything
try.
Changes.
Everything changes.
Your whole operation.
You realize you need a team. You realize you can't do it all by yourself anymore. And then it gives you just like almost this like this feeling of like, oh my God, like this is what I was here to do, right? Like I'm here to showcase this barbecue or donuts or whatever it may be. And it's just so exciting. And I'm so proud of you for making it, literally like to have it on not only the Signal Hill, but also Eater, and literally Eater, people follow from all around the world. So for them to get to know you and for you to be a representative of our culture and of our food is so incredible. And I feel like you haven't looked back since, right? Since that article came out.
Yeah, it's just been nonstop. Like last week, it's like 4 days. So Thursday, we did some back to school for Long Beach Poly. It's like one of the most popular high school in the U.S. So we did back to school there. We brought our food trailer there. And then Friday, we're at our usual spot at 10 Mile at Signal Hill. And then Saturday, we had a private event. It's a kid's birthday. He turned 5 years old. Someone hired us, like, name your price. Like, okay. I wasn't even ready for that, because, they're like pretty rich and, they didn't care. Like, no, I want you. I saw your article. So she tracked me down Signal Hill, like, Chad, I want to hire you for my kid's birthday. And so I went to Sunland. We drove the smoke all the way to Sunland, way over there. I felt like, man, this doesn't seem like it's California, but we're in the middle of it. Because I don't venture to this part of LA, only to South County I've been. So I'm not accustomed to coming to this part. Because it's super congested.
Right.
There's a lot of cool spots, a lot of hidden gems and stuff. I always want to know this part, but I never got a chance to. And then Sunday we're at Trademark Brewery back in Long Beach. So it's like a full 5 days of barbecuing. We're taking orders. I'm making manchao, making our brisket nong pang.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it because I meet so many different people, and plus it gives me a chance to get better and better and better at quality control to work to next week what what I can be better at, like some of the items. So you probably can relate with the different variety of donuts and stuff and filling and stuff. You know?
Yeah. There's so many things that I do admire about you, about what you're turning your food concept to be. But I think the number one that we share is like innovation. It's like, not only are you getting better at the product that people are expecting you, but when you are innovating new stuff. So for those of you guys who haven't tried his barbecue, the bun chow with the pulled pork is so good. I don't know why anybody hasn't like thought of this sooner, but explain to me your thinking behind this, because it is phenomenal. I had it when we had our pop-up and I was like, oh my god, it's so good.
Because I was thinking bánh chao, you know, it's like a savory crepe. It's, you know, our own take on bánh xào from our neighboring friends in Vietnam. So, you know, we make it too, you know, in Cambodia. So there's bánh xào, which is mostly Vietnamese, but also Cambodians. We eat a lot of bánh chao versus our northern neighbor, the Laos or Thailand. So we put our filling, and our filling is composed of mostly like ground pork, mostly in Cambodia. It would be like a grounded or minced and add with
bean sprout
or white sweet onions and stuff. So I'm thinking like maybe I could put pulled pork in there and not put the sprout stuff, because I want the smokiness of the pulled pork in there. And then I'll still have the lettuce, but I'll have the mint and the different herbs, and I have my fish sauce, palm sugar vinaigrette that we're known for. So when I made it and I let someone try it, they really, really liked that. Like, okay, it'll be the new item. So that's when I like you said, I got better at marketing, like making people like, oh, what is he making? Because people were just, you know, they had their focus on my barbecue, because it was me being different, taking something that's purely like American tradition, and people like, what is he making? Why is it so different? I don't like my stuff like. But once they ate it, they knew the difference. They knew the quality. So even being innovative, making the bánh chao smoked pulled pork, it was out of the world with the cucumber, the mint. And once they dip it, like over the weekend, we always sell out our bánh chao and our nong pang, because it's innovative, it's different. They can't get it anywhere. So when, you know, like you probably can relate when they can't get the donut or the filling from anywhere, the way it's made, your signature, they can't go anywhere. They feel like it's something missing. So I think us finding a way to capture that and to get better at that item, it brings so many people to try out, and then their mind are blown away, and we're like, I don't know, it's just, I'm not doing anything different. Yeah. So you at first you're, you know, it keeps you grounded, but you're not in awe, like, oh my god, like, I guess, you know, when people are like, you know, inventing things, trying different things, we're like, okay, let's try something new, let's do something different. Like you keep going and going. I guess that's why we're addicted to like creating different items on what we do, you know.
Yeah, and especially another impressive thing about how you run your business is your involvement on social media. Like, I remember there was a time where my mom couldn't even like text, but now she's on Facebook, you know, she's a little bit on Instagram. And for you to really utilize social media for your business, that's exactly what I did. Social media was a free tool.
Yes.
I didn't have money for marketing. I couldn't ask my parents like, hey, can I get some money for advertising? They're like, no, like, I don't want to give you that money. So social media was for me a free tool I could use. I could get creative on it and show people and get people excited. And I think you've done a really great job too with your social media. And could you speak upon like how powerful it has been for your business?
Oh, it's one of the best tools to get the product across, because I had a lot of experience, like 10 years, like a whole decade or learning, you know, like such influence like Hella Chloe, or you know, a lot of the people that I follow. Sorry,
it's okay. Hella
I can't remember.
Hella Chloe is so funny, by the way. Like I feel like he was one of the first people to like be proud of our culture, but like relay it in a really funny way. Yeah, he's definitely really cool.
He should be. He's like the Cambodian American godfather of social media. He started everything. He did music. He did rap. He introduced a lot of people, so a lot of people really need to give him even more credit. He was the front person of pushing out culture out there. I mean, even other culture, they found him funny. They don't even like speak Khmer. They're like, oh, that's just stuff funny. Like he got, you know, all the different stuff he got hit with a kid. Like everybody could relate to their culture, you know.
Right.
So yeah, he was. I had 10 years of learning that, and it's a great tool. I know, like when you're given stuff, like some people use it to better themselves, better their product, and some people use it in a negative way. Which there are people, we're not gonna give them an ounce a second of the people, trollers, haters. I don't give any of that. Like if I never talk about haters. I will never give like a second ounce for them to acknowledge it. It could be our own community.
Right.
We don't give them that time of day. We keep doing what we do. We're all about the positive vibe, building, making ourselves better, and people that follow, that get inspired, or we inspire them, or they inspire us. So I had so many years of learning, Instagram, Facebook, like putting out my menu, putting out my content on a time scale. So people, when they look like at 9 or 10 a.m., like, oh, I know where he's gonna be at.
Yeah.
So they see you have to acknowledge that, because the world is a much smaller place with social media, and use it as a tool, one of the best tools, and it's free. You just have to be mindful and consistent, and not use it in a negative way where you're scrolling and saying stuff that everybody has their have their opinion, but it does not need to be put out there on something you don't like, or say something to the author of that content and stuff. So it goes back to just everything in life. Like, when we're taught by elders, even in school, like, you don't have anything to say, just keep your opinion to yourself. And when you do, there's not a lot of a bad negative vibe that comes towards it. So you're not, so I had a lot of a lot of experience in using social media to benefit my products and who I am, and what my concept of changing a Cambodian American food.
So tell me what's on the menu right now for your pop-ups.
Oh man! So our number one seller still our brisket.
And also, if you could describe, like, if when you talk about like Twai Ko or something, explain it for people who are not Cambodian, of like what it tastes like.
Oh, Twai Ko is our Cambodian homemade sausage. So it consists of like 80% beef. And we use a little bit of pork fat, let it render together, and we use galanga. Galanga is the horseradish of the Southeast Asia. Like over here, you have in Japan, in Korea, it's wasabi. That's their horse, super expensive, right? So in America, it's horseradish, right? They put in all their different seafood cocktail and all that. But in Southeast Asia, the galanga we use in soup base. We use it to put in lots of, but we put it in our kwako. Then we use garlic, but what makes it different is like a summer sauce. We use a boiled jasmine rice. You put it so it could be ferment. It could be aged. So in 2-3 days, when you do smoke it, give it that little sourness. But when you smoke it, all that fat renders out, because when you deep fry, you grill it, all that fat, some part of it, because it's a thick sausage. So when you do cook it, some parts of it stay like it tastes not cooked, but it's aged and been fermented, so it's not gonna get you sick. But that's one of our best selling item. And then our smoked pork belly. So pork belly is really synonymous to Southeast Asia. It's called kaw, but it's more like a soup base. You put your Chinese spices with your egg, with your bamboo, and then you make it into a stew. But this is a dry Texans, like Texas, Cambodian. So there's no egg involved. There's no sauce. So it's just a dry rub, and it tastes exactly like kaw, but without all the soup.
So good.
And that's our number 2 selling item. Number 3 is our brisket. So brisket is made at least like over a 15-17 hour smoke of brisket. We use Cambodian black pepper. It's called kampot pepper, and we use
the best pepper in the world, by the way.
Absolutely.
For you guys who have never tried kampot pepper, literally that's what it. Chefs get this type of pepper flown across the world for this type of pepper. Either it's like where it's grown, right? Kampot is very lush. But the pepper tastes so different. I can't have regular pepper anymore. Yeah. Whenever I go to Cambodia, I'm like, okay, I want some pepper so I can make it at home. Yeah,
that's right. It's like Kampot is like the Napa Valley of Cambodia, because it sits like a little bit away from the coast, and it gets the fog, the humidity, and the Kampot pepper just thrive. And like Meili said, that it's the best in the world. It's like diamond. They have different grades for those pepper, whether it be the green, the red, all different grades, and they go. The most expensive Kampot pepper goes for like $250 a pound for it.
Dang, really?
Yeah, they're like diamonds, more expensive than some diamonds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we use that for our brisket, and then I also have tteokbokki. So tteokbokki is like a staple, like it's been around for like 2,000-3,000 years in our culture. So it's fermented fish. It's like anchovies, and I know a lot of people in the West, they're more accepting of it because it's so organic. It's not like synthetic stuff that is on the market. So it's just fermented fish, and when you age and stuff, it creates like umami taste. And all this is just sea salt and fish, and then you take it and you could use it to marinate. You could use it as a dipping sauce, and this is used throughout Asia, whether you're in Japan, in Korea, Cambodia, Thailand, goes on in Laos. That's like it's organic sauce. It's like olive oil to the Italians and stuff and around the world. So
It's just a little stinkier.
yeah, it just has a little smell like like blue cheese. They have similar smell.
Yeah.
So what we do, we put different herbs, lemongrass, chili, garlic, and we make it into a sauce. And you dip it, and it's to die for. Like there's spicy, sourness, salty, all those things, and that's what makes it so addicting.
Yeah, I think that's another thing about Cambodian food and why your concept is so unique is already when you look at Cambodian food, it's multi-dimensional. It's not just sweet. It's sweet, spicy, salty. It's all of it, and you get that burst of flavor in your mouth. And why I think it's genius that you brought it with your barbecue is also because you use some of the Cambodian sides too to add it to make it very unique, right?
Yes.
Tell us about the sides that you offer.
The size is a Cambodian coconut corn. It's very subtle, light, but so delicious without the butter. So what we do, we take the corn, and then we mix it with coconut milk, with some sea salt and some green onions, some chives. We mix it, and then we smoke it, and then it's so delicious.
So good.
Like people like it because it's not so buttery like the American traditional like cream of corn or corn on the cob. Is really light, and you get to enjoy it with your barbecue, and it doesn't overpower the barbecue. It's all my sides are light, and I use a pickle. It's called chua. It's like the Cambodian coleslaw, but without the mayo. So it's like a pickle. We use fresh cabbage, fresh cucumber, a little bit of carrot, and then we put a little bit of sugar, a little vinegar, a little bit of salt. We mix it up, and it's very refreshing. It's salty, it's sweet, it's sour, and it's super light than an American pickle. An American pickle, when you buy, is super sharp. It's salty, sour. I think it's too overpowering for barbecue sometimes. That's why it's only used in mostly burgers or sandwiches. But I think that complemented really well with the Batamang barbecue.
Yeah, that's what I really love is like each item that you have, it complements with another item, and it's just so genius how you brought all these flavors together. So we're getting to my favorite part of the podcast where I'm going to ask you to share some golden nuggets, 5 golden nuggets for anybody out there who realizes that having a pop-up or a food concept is their passion. So what tips would you give, 5 tips to a beginner who wants to start something like your concept?
Yeah, so I gave a lot of tips to a couple people that they say that I inspired them, and they took that what I told them, and they are pretty successful. One owns like a matcha shop because she was a really good baker, and the Phuong queen, she her name is Sleipo, and I showed her how to ship stuff and what will work, and she's taken to a different level in marketing and stuff. And right now I'm working with Ida Sweet, just giving her room and space to sell her cookies.
Her cookies are delicious, by the way.
Yeah,
The ube and the pandan are my favorite.
Oh yeah,
so good.
yeah. So my thing was to always do what you love, like focus on the items that you don't have to try so hard to be something that you're not, like the product that you have, and to have a passion about it. Like it's something that you love to do, not something that hinder you, or you trying to just make something to sell to make money. Right. And it's never about money. So when I did this thing, I know the money will come, but I have to make my product better. I have to get better at what I do. And of course, those things will come later. So when we do these things, like you probably can't relate again. Like it was never about money. It's like, hey, can you try this new filling out, this new donut? What do you think? And when you put it out there, the universe will talk, and it's good. It's referral by they'll tell their family, their kids, their neighbors, their church, their place of worship, their work area, and then that's how a lot of these things are built upon. And to really take a risk. Like if you think you have a good product out there, partner up with someone. Don't be afraid. Ask a friend that has a shop. Ask a friend who's catering. Tag along with it. Learn. Don't think that you know everything or to be a controlling person, because you're the one that's trying to put yourself out there, being for people to try your product. So be open to that, and then you want people to like your stuff, and you have to respect people, treat them like their family. And I think that's the thing with Guatemala barbecue. I'm able to give people samples. I was shown like, hey, it's nice to meet you. So they chuckle and laugh, and then I give them the VIP treatment like they're
meet you.
Yeah, so treat them like family, like a relative coming far away. Let them try different barbecue meat and stuff, and they really like it the way that I treat them, because it's like my own backyard. So if you have that approach, like letting people try out, like, well, it's gonna cost me more money, but it's gonna help you in the long run. The word's gonna get out. If you have your cookies good, or your poke is good, or your stir fried noodle, garlic noodles good, because it'll get out there if you're gonna give people samples. So like I said when we talked earlier about the Costco sample, because when you go to Costco, they always sending like these independent contractors for you to try different products. It's not Costco employee, but these are by these companies that put their stuff in Costco. So you take that concept, you learn different parts of it. It'll make you a better person, like putting your product out there, especially with food. And then brand yourself, like don't just like put a picture. Like, well, branding is like a little logo. It's easy to identify. Like people think of brand like it's a picture. Like no, you can't put a picture. It has to be a logo. So a lot of people don't know what a logo. Like, well, I really like this picture, but that's not really a logo. I think it's a picture. So you have to simplify things. Like what you did, what I did. So simplify where people can identify it, and most importantly, like trademark it, just in case you're successful at it, no one can steal your idea, your logo saying theirs. And we see a lot of that on social media with people fake accounts and all that. So you don't need all that extra drama. So just pay a few dollars, have it trademark in a story, and you go on and build your brand. So those things, just stay true to who you are, do what you love, and brand yourself, and then keep working at it to get better. And like you said, learn from people. Don't be closed-minded, thinking you know everything, you're the best. Like, you weren't the first person to do anything. Like, civilization's been around over 30,000 years. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, people. Like, I know, with all these, tools, social media, with AI and all that, we're not the first to do anything. Like me, I'm not the first to barbecue. I probably wasn't the first to do Cambodian barbecue, but I don't know. I only could do what I do for my brand and represent my brand to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
So that's my nuggets in a nutshell.
Those are great nuggets, and although they're simple, but it really means something. It does mean something to wake up and go to work and make your product better. You're never satisfied with like how things are done. They can always be done better. And like you said, referral is, I think, the best way of advertising. Is if you have a great product, you don't even have to ask them. They'll already start telling their friends and family about you. And that in itself is the strongest form of advertisement, because it's like, oh, if your brother is like, who's a foodie, says, oh, this barbecue's good, you're going to want to try it.
Absolutely.
I think that you're doing such an incredible thing for the community, not only bringing the food, but the community aspect, bringing in all of your experiences to this very moment of being the Cambodian cowboy. And it's just really inspiring for our generation as well to just have like that, you at the forefront of it and leading us with what you do every day. What is your vision for our generation, our next generation moving forward? Like, if you could give some advice to a young Cambodian person growing up in America, like, what would it be?
just live your life, do the best that you can, and then better yourself at the things you learn from the past, whether it be from yourself, from your family, or the community, or not just the Asian or Cambodian community, but the community as a whole. You want to make something better yourself first, your family, your significant others, your city, your block. So that's where it starts. Don't think too far, like where it's nationally, globally, because if you want to make a difference, it's gotta be like me. I use my example being at the corner of Cherry and Market Street, or Washington Boulevard, right there. Like being out there, letting people try out my product, and it starts with me. I wasn't gonna let anyone stop me. People, yes, at the beginning, there were friends and family drove by, didn't even know I was there, but I didn't really care, because I'm out there. I knew what I had in me, and I knew the people that were gonna come once they tried my barbecue. So I didn't let them doubt me. If you let anybody doubt you, don't let it discourage you. But it starts with you first, and working, your block, your like you said, with the people you collaborate with, the stores and stuff, and friends. So always believe in yourself, and keep on making yourself better in different industry. Learn, get better at it. Read books, listen to podcasts, and just take all those nuggets. They're everywhere for you. We weren't the first person to do anything.
Right.
There's nuggets and stuff, good ones, bad ones, and you just have to figure it out. And then don't be afraid to ask questions, stuff, for people who've done it, and to go to these things, or to ask another person. If they say no, go to the next person, like, hey, how do you do it? And most people, they're really good people. They'll tell you, hey, this is the way I do it. If you talk to this person, they'll take care of you. Here, here's to get your permit, and after you get that, the health department will come. You need to have this, have it ready. Because if you put yourself out there and you're not ready, don't be out there. Don't complain. Don't whine like nobody likes your stuff, or they're making your stuff is not that good. Because when you're out there, or presenting, your storefront, or even a pop up, that's showtime. And that's, to me, I look at it like Kobe Bryant, because he taught me. I watched this kid. I didn't really like the guy when he came to the Lakers, but he wasn't the greatest athlete, but he didn't go to party, he didn't club or anything. He was at a young relationship. When he was younger, he did really well. Then he met his wife Vanessa. He took her to her prom, and that's when he, like, people went to clubbing because they had all this money. But he really worked at his game. So I learned a lot. Like, man, this kid is like he's like a relentless, like Magic Johnson, because Magic, he really made a lot of people better. And I looked towards Magic because I used to ball, like play basketball, like street basketball from park to park. So the competitiveness in me, but like he worked at it better and better, and like you, and for me, like, people are sleeping, it's like 1 a.m. I'm still out there, taking care of the smoke and stuff, because if you want the smoke, you gotta be there, and you're only good as your availability. If you're not there every weekend and stuff with your pop-up or a podcast or being a storefront or letting people try out your stuff, you're only good as your last, and then someone else will take your place. So you have to be there for people. You're only good as your last pop-up or availability. So that's my thing, to always be available and do your very best, and to better yourself for the industry that you're in. So that's my message to everybody.
I think that you have so many gems in not only your story of like how you became the Cambodian cowboy, but just so many things that you went through too in your life. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing that with us. We have a lot to learn from you, and you continue to be an inspiration for our community. So thank you. Where can people find you, like on social media or your pop-ups? Could you let us know where to find you?
Yes, my social media, my IG handle. So I had my original one was Batabang Bob, where I did a lot of my social media, my sauces, my crawfish, and then I transitioned over because I had to rebrand myself. Like you said, you're never too old to reinvent yourself, or never too young to reinvent yourself. If you see something work, like, go create another handle. Don't be afraid. Create another website, or just be out there collaborating with other people in that industry. So I made it's Batabang Barbecue. That's my IG handle, and also Facebook and TikTok.
Oh, you've got a TikTok
Yeah,
too?
TikTok, but
I gotta
I'm
follow
not.
you on TikTok.
Yeah, but it's just more for advertising. I don't do any of the dance or silly stuff or, you know, that's new stuff to me. Like I'm an old guy, so
Maybe you can do a little like line dancing
line
with the
dan-
barbecue.
or Phuong or side of
Yeah,
I'm like the Texas
yeah.
Cambodian one.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
you giving me some
Hey.
ideas. Reinventing myself again, right?
I'm so blown away and so honored to have you on my podcast. Thank you again for your time, and like seriously, it means so much for you to drive out here when you should be resting and spending time with your family, but just knowing the importance of sharing your story with us. So for those of you who are listening, thank you so much again, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Until the next legend that I bring on, until the next amazing influential person I get to highlight, holla at your girl.